What's going on, guys? Dealer here, back again with RDX Podcast. We're waiting on Mooch. Apparently, his computer has 5,000 updates, so he'll be here in a minute. But in the meantime, we've got some awesome stuff to talk about. And hang on, I've got some sound shooting through here, fucking making me go deaf. So, like I said, we got a lot of great topics here. I've got a few announcements here at the beginning of the podcast as well. But let's get into some intros as we wait for Mooch. Hopefully he'll be here by the end. Maybe not, but we'll see. Hey, Colt, how you been, man?
Really good. Too busy. It's been so crazy with Spider-Man and with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and all of a sudden, like, I'm running out of free time, and I'm getting really busy about it. So, yeah, it's good to be here, regardless, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to play, a lot of cool shit going on. So Shady, man, how you been?
I've been damn good as always, man. It's a pleasure coming back here week after week, hanging with the community and talking games. Speaking of which, we're right in the thick of it here, boys. I love it.
D-Batch, how you been, man?
I've been good, man. Finally, we're getting some games to play, and all the games I've been playing so far, they're stellar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ton of great games, and I'm itching to get back into Tomb Raider like a crack addict here. So I've got some announcements here while we wait on Mooch. Regarding Patreon, we got 2 Patreon winners this month because the support's been so fucking awesome. I'm going to give away double the games here. 1 copy of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and that goes to Guillermo Calvillo. And then we've got a copy of Far Cry 5 going to Casket Repair on Patreon. So that's a great name on Patreon. So congratulations to you guys. If you won, DM me if I don't DM you beforehand. And you will get these games. If you're interested, like I said, link down below. Also, regarding Patreon, I'm doing the RDX live stream or whatever, the Patreon live stream used to be a little more spontaneous, and you know, I wasn't doing the best job with keeping up with when that was going down and stuff. But thanks to East Texas Alex, this guy suggested a great idea. The first Tuesday of every month, right after the show, I'm going to try to do this Patreon live stream where patrons and I jump in the stream, play some games, probably give away some games in the stream as well, and just have a great time. So just so you guys know, the first Tuesday of every month, that's when that will take place. And Patreon are also changing their terms and conditions or some crap. Long story short, the giveaway is now called RDX Benefits. Okay? Let's just... that's what the giveaway is called.
Way to work it on. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know what else to call it. So if I'm talking about RDX benefits, if you see something about RDX benefits on the, that's game giveaway related stuff, all this stuff. So like I said, guys, thank you so much. And congratulations to the winner of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I don't know if I said Rise earlier. Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Far Cry 5. And we've got some Patreon sponsors that power the show. Channing Pennington, John Yoon, Mel S. Chief Exec, Guillermo Cabello, Lethal Papa, Biggie Shoot 2316. We've also got Mariano Alvarado and Robert Prather. So thank you guys so much for doing what you do. Forza Horizon 3 hits 10 million users. Shady, I thought this shit was niche. I thought it was just a racing game. What's going on here?
Apparently it's niche to 10 million players. I mean, the game is fantastic. It's been no secret, and people are loving it. It's approachable for everybody, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, somebody else has got to be kind of blown away by this. 10 million users on Forza Horizon 3 alone. 22 million users last year on Forza across the board, according to Dan Greenwald of Turn 10. Here's
I mean, that is crazy. If you believe the propaganda, that means that 1 in 3 Xbox users are playing Forza 3.
Well, this isn't just on Xbox. Keep that in mind.
Fair enough. Yeah,
so
you're correct there.
It's definitely not just Xbox, but either way, it goes against the point that it is, in fact, niche. Mooch, what's going on, man? Nice of you to join us.
Hey, buddy, what's up? What a great time for... listen, it's the week of Apple products, so why wouldn't my Mac decide to update? I've never had that. I have it never set to an automatic update, nothing like that at all. Of course, tonight's the night, but it is good to be here, and I apologize for the hang-up.
No, it's all good, bro. We waited a few minutes. We're like, all right, we'll just let Mooch, run this malware virus scan, and get to us when he can.
Yes.
So
That's
we
right.
we were just discussing the fact that Horizon 3 hits 10 million players, and of course the entire Forza lineup, meaning the last couple, have hit 22 million players last year. Is that kind of impressive coming from a niche game that no one cares about? What do
You
think
know,
about that?
well, I like the latter part of your question because that's. Can you? I don't know if I'm coming through. Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're fine. Now you're not coming through. There you go.
Now I'm not. Of course not. Right.
Now you're good.
Right. So basically, the last part of your question there is the best part of it. When you said, air quotes, right? For me personally, Forza, this dealer, I'm really going to try and make an effort to get into Forza Horizon 4. But for some reason, that's not my bag. You guys know that. But in England and all across the world, Forza is a major title. So to say that those numbers are that large, yeah. As far as the people I speak to in the gaming world, Forza's massive. And I mean, it's either you get on board with it or get run over. This thing it's taken over by storm. And no, those numbers don't surprise me. I think that there's more people out there that like the Gran Turismos and the Forzas of the world than we talk about. It doesn't really make big time news, but it is a huge title. It's a huge title. And I think even Sony fans would agree that Forza is pretty much the king at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I did a video yesterday, basically 5 reasons Sony fans want Forza Horizon 4 on the PlayStation 4. And there were actually a lot of cool guys in the comment section there talking about, yeah, I got to admit, I'm a Sony guy, but Horizon looks absolutely phenomenal. Motorsport looks phenomenal. They are the highest rated racing games this generation easily. And you can't call them so standard when that's the case, right? When you're the best, you're not just a standard, regular, generic racing game. When you're the best, you're the best. And who wouldn't want the best? As I said at the end of that video, I would have definitely loved to play Spider-Man and God of War on the X, but you just can't sometimes. You got to boot up the other console that you may not prefer and have fun,
Some people don't want the best. I've talked to a lot of people today that are big fans of the PS4 platform, and they're fine with the PS4 not having the best racing game. They're like, they're more concerned with the other games that they have, I guess. Not everyone's a racing fan,
but I think it's that they don't want to admit that they would really like to play. Why wouldn't you, right? I just said that I would really love to have God of War and Spider-Man on the Xbox. Why did they have such a hard time kind of coming forward with that, you think?
There's a problem with, they're kind of radicals. So, they're just a small little sliver of a huge community, but they have a problem with Microsoft. Since it's not their favorite, they have a problem admitting that it has a small corner of the market. It has the corner of the market with first person shooters and multiplayer games and racers. And that's it. They have the power too, but that's like, just give them their props and walk away. It's not a big deal. It's a great place to game.
It's simple to ask yourself, like, would you have preferred it if GT Sport was at a 87 instead of a 75? Yes, you would. Okay, well then you want something like Forza Motorsport 7.
They're pretty happy that GT Sport has added so much more, and the score would be higher if games got scored after the fact. But just about every game gets massive updates and improvements along the way, and we don't ask for all of them to be rescored. It's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah. Well, I want to give a big shout out to everybody watching this live, guys. You guys power the show. Thank you so much. Lethal Papa and all you other motherfuckers. Thank you so much for doing what you do. Hit that like button as we're well past 300 people watching live already. We appreciate it. D, any final thoughts on Horizon 3? Massive player base. Why do I keep hearing people say it's niche?
I have no idea. That is the game that racers enjoy, and also the casual picks it up. Like that is the definitive racing game this generation so far. Like nothing beats it. Like if you want a good racing game, if you want to be more arcade, you can tailor the settings to make it more arcade. If you want to be more sim, you can. And of course, you got the open world, you got the music, the new one, of course, the seasons. But even the last one was good. You had Blizzard Mountain, you had the Hot Wheels pack. It's a phenomenal game. And some fanboys just need to be honest. Like I'm sure there's certain games on the Xbox platform, right? I'm pretty sure every Xbox gamer right now would take Spider-Man on the Xbox.
Definitely.
Let's just be honest.
Let me say one thing too, real quick, Mooch, is you bring up Spider-Man again, and it kind of reminded me, I think I might have said this last week. I don't remember. But after really reflecting on that ending of Spider-Man, I would raise that game score from an 87. I agreed exactly with Metacritic, but I would probably go to 88, maybe even 89. That's how much I feel that Insomniac have excelled, and the ending was just legit. I'm not saying it was the best boss design, or it hit me. I really enjoyed that. So what we say, Mooch?
No, I wanted to say, if we're all going to come to terms, a lot of the coming to the terms is the fact. And by the way, let the audience know if I am coming through choppy. Let me know. It's
You are a little bit choppy. You just sound like Tech 9 right now. It's all right. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I apologize. Let me know if it gets better or if it gets worse.
All right.
But realistically, I think that we've come to terms with the fact that this generation, the single player games have gone to Sony, right? I mean, we can all sit back and pretty much say that at this point. But realistically, getting back to your Forza point, is that Forza is the king of racers, and I think that I don't understand why that's so hard for the other side to kind of, for the Sony guys to kind of say, you know what, yeah, we've got this category and this category on lockdown this generation, but by far it seems like Forza is an Xbox, the Xbox dominant genre. So, I mean, and that's the one thing I just don't understand yet. I have a hard time getting that, where I've definitely tipped my cap in respect to the God of Wars and the Spider-Mans. And I'm not even a Forza guy, but but the point of the matter is that if I'm going to pick a racer, Forza is by far the king of all racers, and that's I'm just shocked. Yeah.
It's okay to like I said, we've already said it 1,000 times already this show. Spider-Man God of War, would love to have it on Xbox. Nope. So I got to play the PlayStation. That's fine. So I think it's okay to admit the reality of the situation. Forza's pretty amazing. Horizon 3 was a 91 on Metacritic. We're all kind of close to that with Forza Horizon 4. The reason I think it'll be the same or maybe a point worse is because they're kind of similar, and it really depends on how they pull the seasons off and stuff. But I think it'll be probably a 90. If they rate it higher than 3, that's great. But that's what I'm going to put it at. Speaking of Horizon 4, as we'll start moving into some other topics, but we do got to cover that. It's coming out pretty soon. I think the 28th for Ultimate Edition owners. Horizon 4 impressions, 60 frames. I mean, this was good, man. This was really good. I mean, anybody else try the demo for Horizon 4?
Oh yeah, it was smooth as silk.
60 frames. What do you think about it, Shady?
I had a good time with it. The graphics were beautiful. There was a lot of color out in the world, which I really like to see. A lot of fireworks going off, confetti cannons. The lighting was fantastic. And that 60 frames mode, man, that is just some butter, and it looks amazing while it's doing it. I can't complain.
Silver Rivet in the super chat, he says that post-credit scene in Spider-Man was bullshit with Harry. I don't want to spoil anything, but you know what? The Insomniac creative director said, you know what? People are tired of the same old stories, man. They want something new. And we don't know, I can't even say it. Never mind. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'll say that. The sequel's going to be lit. So I guess we'll have to fucking see. D, did you get a chance to try this demo out?
Yeah, Forza Horizon, just beautiful game. HDR in that game is just amazing. Looks so good on my OLED. And the 60 frames per second mode is very impressive on the console. Like the Xbox One X finally getting 60 frames per second in an open world racing game. And it's fantastic. Although I gotta say the 4K mode looks really good on the console too.
It does.
And with the implementation of their motion blur,
per object motion blur, like some of the better motion blur you can have, really.
You can kind of get away with it, and if you have a TV like mine's, the or whatever, the Q9s or the NUs, where you can put the frame interpolation on in those modes to actually give the appearance of smoother frames, then it's a bonus. I played it on PC too, though, and on PC it's amazing, man. The graphics on the 4K 60, amazing, man. Amazing.
It's so difficult because I played both versions. I played it at 4K and I played it at 60, and the 4K mode just looks like a freaking painting in motion. It looks so beautiful, but then when you have to restart to switch to 60 frames. It's so shiny and so smooth. It's like, oh my gosh, I'll be playing like 90% of the game at 60 frames. But even when you go back and take that hit at 30 frames, that per object motion blur, it's so gorgeous. And it's one of those games at 30 that, I don't know, It's like it's totally forgivable, and it sounds so ridiculous to say it. I mean, we played the best games in the world at 30 frames: Red Dead Redemption, God of War, Spider-Man, and we didn't cry about the frame rate. I mean, those games are absolutely fantastic. But to play Horizon 3 and 4,
yeah, they would have. But
yeah, of course they'd be better at 60. But it's like this is what we get, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's just beautiful. And I played the demo like 6 times, and I don't know. I just want more. I should just kind of leave it alone.
Yeah, Mooch. I don't know if you had a chance to try this.
Well, here's the thing. I definitely had the chance, the opportunity, but I passed. And the reason being is, and it may not make for great podcasting, folks, but I'm still going to fill you in with a story. I personally would rather, I love that riveting feeling that Forza Horizon does. They've done it since, I believe, the second one, which I played very little of the first one. So if they did in the first one, I apologize. But when you kind of take over, you go right into the cockpit and boom, that music kicks off and they just throw you into that initial, like, I wouldn't call it race, but that in past ones you're driving to the festival, that exhilarating music, the way that the first time your eyes are doing exactly what each one of you just went down the panel said, how you felt it, you saw the colors, you saw the vibrant like environments. And myself personally, I enjoy that too much to ruin it on a demo. That's a me problem. I get that. Okay. So I'm saving it. We've got plenty to play right now. Nobody's starving for games. I really wanted to save that experience because I don't play. Here's the other thing everyone needs to realize that listens to Dealer's channel. You guys realize that Dealer is a big Forza fan. I know that Colt is also somewhat a big Forza fan. And I believe even D. Yeah. If D's not, D does a lot of coverage on it, maybe just for the the technical prowess on his PC stuff. But my point being is that I'm not. So I only usually do between 10 and 15 hours of Forza a year. I don't do a lot. So those first few hours are crucial to the excitement of the game for me. So a lot of times, and I say this a lot, this is kind of a segue, Dealer, but realistically, a lot of times demos, I think, ruin games for me. Because, Destiny 1, I know no one likes to talk about it, but like when that demo came out, it was out for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. Everyone played the crap out of those first 5, 6 missions, 4 missions they gave you to death. And then you had to start over again.
Wasn't Destiny 1 the entire game just a demo?
Well, yeah, you could actually say that if you want to. Some people like that demo. All right. But nonetheless, I think that the demo just was, it's an exhilarating thing. I think I'm looking forward to it. I didn't play a whole lot of I never really played the motorsport series. So Forza for me is really on a 2-year hiatus. So I'm looking forward to this. I really haven't played Forza since Forza Horizon 3. So I'm excited to jump into this. So I didn't do it, but at least I can give everybody that's kind of, chiming in on the show tonight to know why I didn't do it. There has to be a reason. You can't just say no on a podcast. You can't really no.
You can. It's not a big deal.
It's not good. You don't get reinvited on a no. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal, man. I mean, you're saving it all for the show.
That's right.
For the game. That's fine.
Yes.
So, yeah, impressions are great. Game looks amazing. 60 frames holds up pretty well. Interestingly, at 1080p, the GPU is not even being maxed out at Horizon 4. We all know this. Do you know this? Yeah. You don't go from 1080p 60 and not have headroom when your card can do 4K 30 locked with the settings that it's running. So I don't know why they didn't jack the visuals up, or at least the anti-aliasing up. But maybe it's just a demo. Who knows? We'll see what they do there.
It doesn't hitch at all. I think that's why they're leaving it how they have it. They have it where they're not having any frame rate issues, and they're just gonna leave it that way. But we'll see.
They can do things like that don't have anything to do with the CPU. That, like I said, with Gears, like that's why it's at 1080 as well. When Digital Foundry tests the power draw, they're like, oh, the card is not even maxing itself out at all. It's at 110 watts instead of 170. It's just sitting there with 20, 30 frames of overhead, not doing anything because they want to make sure the CPU is the only bottleneck. But hey, speaking of bottlenecks, PUBG getting a temporary downgrade. Many graphical settings are being reduced for a hotfix. Apparently, they got some real issues going on there. So the game already looks like trash, and now it's going to look even worse. And my question is, why not just reduce it from native 4K to 1440p or even 1800p?
Well, you see, Dealer, it's because their artistic vision is 4K trash. That's the artistic vision of the devs, and I applaud them for seeing it through to the end here. Huh. No, I mean, the game already looked like crap. I mean, lower the resolution. We don't need to see crisper garbage. So I don't get it either.
Yeah, I mean, D, you can agree, right? You don't want to reduce all the graphical settings. Instead, you would just take a small hit in resolution or maybe a 50% hit.
Does anybody else think Bluehole is like that company? You know that kid that you go to the carnival and you see the parents talking to the kid being like, "You really should try this, Jimmy. Try it out." And the kid's like, "I don't want to try it out." And then it's like, "All right, it's time to leave the carnival." And the kid's crying the whole way. He's like, "I want to try it out." Bluehole messed up. Okay, they had their opportunity to make big bucks with Microsoft, and they completely blew it.
Oh, I mean, they already made so much money on that game.
Let me tell you something, dealer. When it comes to money, there ain't enough. Okay, so don't tell me that nonsense because they got to split that thing out many other ways. But I listen, and I know Shady's a fan of it, and I was too. I had a lot of fun. I got about 100 hours, maybe a little bit over 100 hours into PUBG. All of it, basically, the first 45 to 60 days it came out, and I really love it. I still like the Battle Royale. That's why I really promoted the crap out of Blackout. I'm excited for that game. I played in a good enough amount of Fortnite, not because I really liked it. That was more of a family thing. Me and you talked about that, dealer. But the point of the matter is that PUBG. Here's what I would have done. Honestly. The game, we've all said this. Everyone from the pros to the people who barely picked it up. The game never looked great. Don't even tell us you downgraded it. I'm not going to know. Right?
Oh
Who the hell? No, and Cole, don't get me wrong. I know you and D, you guys are big fans of grabbing the magnifying glass and looking at the fine print. Listen, the rest of us don't do that.
No. Let me make my stance on PUBG. These devs are way too scared not to push, even on the PS4 Pro side. They're too afraid to not push up as close to 4K as possible. These games are running 1600, 1800p, 2016p, because the devs want to get that close to that 4K number.
Yeah.
And a lot of these games would benefit with like a 1440p at 60. And like, it's so stupid that somebody like Bluehole should know better. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Get those graphics up to a higher setting, drop the resolution to half of 4K, then start pushing for 60
Cole,
frames.
let me ask you a question, Cole, let me ask you a question. Do you think, even though Microsoft always says, we're hands off, developers can do whatever they want, we don't even check in on them? All right.
Yeah.
So, right. Do you think, I think that this was kind of Microsoft being like, listen, especially when it came out, they were in a real bind. They had a 4K machine out. They got a game that was a hot topic. I think they were like, do me a favor, put this bastard, ramp this thing up to 4K for me. You know what I mean? I really think that they kind of incentivized this for Bluehole to do. You know what I mean? And I agree with you. What's wrong with 1440p with a game like this? That was my point.
No, it's just a temporary thing as well. And well, you know what, when they say we don't check in, we can do whatever they want. I believe it. Sea of Thieves. I don't know what the fuck they did for 5 years. I have no clue. So
it's like, I always hear people say Sony lets their studios do what they want, and I'm like, well, apparently so does Microsoft, because they don't even check in on those guys. They're making these some of these games they make. I'm like, did you guys send somebody over from your studio to do some QA QC? With some of the way some of these games come out. Like, I think both of these companies are given free reign, but one of them just expects better quality and one doesn't. But whatever.
Well, I mean, that's what we talked about before with Phil delaying certain people look at the Crackdown delay as a bad thing, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like,
he's finally doing what he was supposed to do.
No such thing as a bad game delay in my eyes. If it's not ready, then don't even release it. Don't release it. So, Phil said the Crackdown was ready for this fall, but he didn't want it to get crushed by the competition. It would have. And so they put it in the spring, and now it's going to get crushed by the competition again because, unbeknownst to them at the time, everything else is coming out. Their only option is to move it up into January.
No, you know my theory. I told you last week. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're going to funnel people into Game Pass. Everyone's spending their money on these big bangers on the 22nd. They're still going to want to try this Crackdown, this myth.
Bro, nobody gives
and they'll block down the $10
casual, like the casual in a world with Anthem and all these other games coming out on the 22nd does not give two shits about Crackdown. That's the casual.
If it delivers at all on that multiplayer, at all, people will want to try it out. And $10 isn't a big ask for a month of trial.
I agree with that.
I think they're trying. I think they did it on purpose.
I don't know about that multiplayer, man. If we still haven't heard anything or seen anything from it, I'm not convinced it's there.
All we've heard is not. We haven't heard a no. They've basically said yes, it's still there in the shortest way possible. Yeah, it's just. But there's definitely difference this year with Microsoft and how they're handling their games than what we saw even up until this spring. Like just this turn of the summer, like we started to see the difference. of leadership and the freedom, and it's gonna, unfortunately, it's just, we're gonna have to start seeing
It's
it.
gonna take time, but there's nothing you can do unless you know how to build a damn time machine. You know,
I don't know. I didn't sell my Xbox. I'll tell you that.
you just gotta wait, unfortunately, and I think that Phil's given those teams a bigger budget and more time, and that's amazing. That's what separates, I think, Insomniac before from Insomniac on Spider-Man is they asked Sony, how many, could we have some more time, and they always just came back with a yeah. And that's what makes a difference. Quality, polish, stuff like that. So let's talk about Capcom real quick. Capcom Vancouver, their projects are done. That's the Dead Rising studio, by the way. They lost $40 million as a result of shutting those projects down, or this project down, meaning that was probably the game's budget. What do you think this was, D?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I haven't been too impressed with what they've released recently, to be honest with you. So
Same.
they and I don't think it's been selling as well as the first one, or the first two at least. So, the writing was kind of on the wall, right? So you're not producing, you're not innovating. No one really likes your games. It's time to move on. I think that's what happened there.
Well, 3 was a launch title. It did like $1 million or so, and then 4 just flopped pretty hard. But here's the problem with Dead Rising, in my opinion. I'm sure there's plenty that like it, but I'm just not one of those that's entertained by this. I feel like Dead Rising 4 is Dead Rising 1 in 2017 or 16, whenever it came out. Yeah. I don't feel like it's moved along very far. I'm not as entertained by mowing down hordes of brainless AI anymore. I've even said this about State of Decay, even though I think State of Decay 2, I know State of Decay 2 is better than the first one in every way. That's just a fact. And I'm a big State of Decay fan. If they don't do something really drastic with 3, I don't know how much more I can just do the zombie thing.
And I'm glad you said that, Dealer, because me and you had some great debates on other shows. And that was, I kind of threw in the towel after 2, because I had gotten my hopes up when I saw Microsoft. They didn't acquire them, but they basically put them under their umbrella, and you took a garage group of developers and you moved them on up, and they did videos of what Undead Labs looks like and where they work, and it was a lot better than it used to be, and they had 4 years to develop it, and we got State of Decay 2. And everything you just said, I know you like to use facts. It was say again.
It's a super small team. That's why it took so long.
Well, that's fine. You know what? To be honest with you, if it would have been better, they could have took another 4 years. I didn't say that. I didn't need to play it then. And the fact is that the product that they put out, I didn't play. And that's what that was a me problem. These are my issues. But realistically, what you're saying right now is where I was at when it launched. You're basically, you gave it another pass. And that's fine.
I gave the game like a 7.5. I thought that it was better than the first one in every way. It was exactly what I said it would be, and I put like 3 days in, and I'm like, okay, well, I've done on this a lot, and right now I'm just not compelled.
Let's look at what a 7.5 really is, Dealer. And it's not to pick on your number. I've been thinking about this a long time. I know a lot of people that are mathematicians. They actually say this all the time. Realistically, whenever you say to somebody, "Hey, 0 to 10, what did you think of this? This meal we ate tonight?" And unless somebody really got something bad in it, you know what I mean? Nobody ever really goes 0 to 4, right? So 5 is generally the new 0. Because when a game comes out, when a game gets a 5 out of 10, you're not even gonna even think about buying.
Well, in food, right? It's like so.
6 is the 0, and people look at 6s as a trash game.
Well, you know what, Shady? That's fine. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt here. That's fine. I could definitely make an argument to that too. But if 5 is the 0, basically with Dealer, what you gave it is a 50. So what I'm saying to you is that I
gave it a C. I gave it a C.
That's fine. But like I said, I'm actually, there's a lot of people that have the patience where you're like, look, I like what they did. You genuinely enjoyed the first one. So why would you not like the second one? It did improve. But what I thought we would get is not what we got. And listen, let's be honest. You said the same thing. You just moved the numbers up. My complaint was from 1 to 2. Yours is like, if 3's like 2, I'm out.
Well, I mean, the difference is though, I've literally like talked about exactly. I said this is going to be like the first one, but basically how the first one should have been.
Well, that's like saying, listen, that's like saying tomorrow's going to be just like last Wednesday, right? But at the same time, things might be a little different, right?
It was exactly what I expected.
You might step into a larger puddle tomorrow and wet your sock. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, I understand that 2 is going to be like 1. We all get that. But the problem is it wasn't enough difference to make me drive home the fact that we are in a next generation game and they had 4 years and they're underneath the Microsoft umbrella. Granted, small team, take more time. And that's what you were just saying in the last segment, where Sony gave Insomniac more time because they had so many games coming out. They don't need to look at the games right now. The Last of Us probably could come out this fall. They're pushing it to next fall, probably. And then Death Stranding and these other games, they can come out whenever they want because they have all these other games. They're making money hand over fist. Insomniac didn't have that privilege and right with Sunset because they were like, hurry up and give me something. We're dying here, you know? And the same thing goes for a lot of these games with Xbox. Now you see Phil going, look, this generation's pretty much over. Take your time. You know, if Crackdown 3 said, listen, we need until May 3rd, you know what he's going to say? Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Help yourself.
They would, honestly. They're not going to delay that thing again.
He said he's not going to head fake Crackdown. So it's either Mooch, stop yelling. Somebody said in the chat.
That's like I'm on Dealer's channel. That's the big thing on a lot of the guys. That's like the big thing now. Everyone, it's kind of like comical. It's kind of like the old Primus sucks from the 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember
is it
Primus.
Dead Rising for sure. That is what they were working on. That was the canceled game the studio was doing.
No, it was the Dead Rising 3 and 4 team, I do believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So no one knows what they were actually making?
Most likely another fucking Dead Rising.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the thing hardly sold on the PlayStation after
When's the last time though that
came out?
Capcom have like had them make anything else or like really have put out anything different or wasn't just the same franchise? Like what's Capcom's newest thing that they put out, you know?
Monster Hunter is their big bread basket.
That's huge.
Big numbers. I was impressed with it.
They also did well with Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
that
though,
was
like in terms of like a new thing, what's the last new thing Capcom have done? I mean, at least Microsoft, like with Scalebound, right? I mean, it like even The Last Guardian or whatever it was called, that thing took 9 years to come out.
Yeah.
8 years, right? I mean, Scalebound's not out now. We don't know if they're going to bring it back, whatever. But at least they tried something different there. With Sunset Overdrive, they definitely tried something different there.
Yep.
What about Capcom? Like, what is the last thing those guys have been like, oh, yeah, you know, that's
I don't know. They're the closest thing to Nintendo in the industry where they just kind of rest on their laurels and deep IP list that goes back 20, 30 years. Like they don't come out with new stuff very often. Lost Planet? Was it Lost Planet? Was that their last new IP?
It might have been, man.
Yeah,
that could be true. Yeah.
Lost Planet. Yeah. I mean, Resident Evil 7 was fucking fire, though. I did enjoy it. But nonetheless, yeah, that studio is definitely not doing what they were doing at one point. We've got also Rocksteady are on a big hiring spree right now for something running on next gen machines, basically, is what they said. So maybe this whatever DC game they're working on, right? Because we've talked about this Avengers versus DC game, Crystal Dynamics versus Rocksteady. Maybe the Rocksteady game isn't next year. Maybe it's 2020. I mean,
it sounded like all those guys they were hiring were like project leads on multiplayer. Like they were big guys. It wasn't just like we're looking for an extra Joe Blow programmer here. They were looking for some serious stuff, which made me wonder what have they been doing since Arkham Knight if they're looking for that type of talent at this moment.
You know what takes some of the longest? It's like when you're building a thumbnail or a video. You build a thumbnail, you reiterate on it, you change this, you got to come up with the concept first, and that takes the longest time for some teams, I think, to come up with a new idea regarding superhero games, which is what I believe that Rocksteady are probably trying to do. Right. They have to come up with all these new ideas and how these mechanics are going to work.
Who's the company rumored dealer to be working on? Rumored again, Superman game. I thought there was a Superman game someone had been briefly discussing.
The Superman game itself is the rumor. Rocksteady is the team that's working on whatever that game. It could be a Superman game, a Justice League game.
Right, that's what I thought. And that's when you said Rocksteady and they're supposedly working on a game. I thought it was supposed to be, when you said in the DC world, I thought it would be Superman would be next. And it's hard. That's a very tough game to make, by the way. So here's my other thing. Would they did come out and say publicly years ago that they wouldn't do another Batman game. Do you think that they would go back to it?
No, I don't think that team is going to dedicate a whole game to Batman, but they do have that WB Montreal team that's working on something since 2013's Arkham Origins. So,
yeah,
I could see a Batman outside of the Arkham series as well. Like when it comes to these comics, you can hit them with like almost any news story. The comics themselves operate that way.
Yeah, take some. Hey, Julian in the super chat says, "Did you see Forza Horizon 4? How well it runs on PC? Finally, they got a smooth PC port out there for the first time. I'd have to disagree with you on the first time part. Gears 4 was very well optimized. And Horizon 3 was not. So I get what you're saying, but Gears 4 was fucking fire on the PC from day one. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the update on Rocksteady, one of my favorite developers. Arkham series is absolutely phenomenal. Do you guys hear about this? Colt, Digital Foundry say Rise of the Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. God, I keep saying that.
Yeah,
Running at medium settings on consoles. Now this is according to one guy who did a comparison, the X versus the PC. The day before, John does an analysis of Shadow of the Tomb Raider on the X and PlayStation, and says that they have 4K textures. Now, what part of 4K textures equals medium texture settings to you? Is it this guy, because they've done this before? I think they forget that people take their word as the end all be all. And we've seen them wrong several times to the point where they've almost been sued over it because they've affected game sales. What part of this? Why can't they just go direct for direct and actually look at this effect and see where it's at? The guy just kind of threw it out there and obviously was wrong because Digital Foundry's own video the day before said the Pro and the X had 4K assets in it, and that's nowhere near medium.
I really like Digital Foundry. I've kind of learned to, appreciate what they do. Like John Linneman and Richard Ledbetter, I really like their work and what they do. But they're human and they make mistakes. They've made a couple mistakes. You've noticed many times how they've left out key things like different effects and
they left out. What they do is Fallout 4 alone is it instantly stands out. They left out a lot of additions that Bethesda actually brought. They stuck to the patch notes, and that's the problem. A lot of developers will say 4K support. Okay, well, what the hell? There's more. There's more foliage here. They don't list everything.
Yeah, and I want to tell you guys, as a content creator, it's really difficult to try and think of the whole broad spectrum of what you need to cover and to step back and look at everything that needs to be covered when you make a video. It's a lot of work. And these guys have a lot, a small set of resources. They have like a small team that does really great things. And like I said, they're human. They make mistakes. But one of the different things that they have access to software that counts frames. They have a method to count pixels. And they'll take they'll probably take a handful, let's say 3 or 4 screenshots in a game, and they'll count the pixels on them, and then they'll just kind of say, well, here's the best and worst case scenario. I think it's dynamic, and here's what I think the resolution is on the game. And they're not always right. And it's just kind of weird. I think maybe that guy, when he said it was medium settings, I think maybe he was just kind of like, well, here's what I think it is. And he's not thinking about the 4K textures. And
we know that PC looks the best. Like that's common.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
It looks the best. And every time you hear him talk, he's always trying to make the console seem very insignificant. As somebody who owns both, I can obviously know that there's a definite advantage on one platform, but the other one, each one has perks. But my point is, he just threw medium settings out there like it was definitive when the video before the one he did literally contradicts that claim of just medium settings.
If it wasn't for Digital Foundry, I wouldn't know what to do with my astronomy telescope that I've got set up in my living room pointed at my TV, man. Like, what else would you use that sucker for? If not zooming into 10,000 times and confirming that it is indeed a grain silo.
I've actually tested both of them and extensively on my PC as well at 4K, everything turned up, all the bells and whistles. And I will say that the Xbox version is running at the high settings the medium settings minus the textures. And just like on PC, you can put the textures up to ultra and put everything down to medium. So maybe he could have categorized it better that, hey, it's running 4K textures, shadows are at medium, draw distances at medium in comparison to PC. But having played them and put them side by side, it is running the medium settings with a little bit of high and a little bit tweaks here and there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, D, you kind of clarified. I was going to actually toss the question to you and say that there is a difference, because I know a lot of people that do play on PC, and they say there's a lot of times, he goes, a lot of people they'll write me in the DMs, they'll say, basically you got this whole thing with the 4K textures thing down, but they say you got to understand something. What the Xbox or even PlayStation can do at the 4K level isn't exactly what we mean when we say max or ultra settings on PC. There is a difference there. So even if you're hitting 4K,
they say medium settings,
right? And that's the thing.
Medium settings, it applies everything to medium.
Agreed. And that's where I kind of want to get back to what Colt was saying. And Colt with his hashtag be nice, which I really promote, and I think that's great. No, I do. But at the same time, I think that I don't give them as much slack. They've been doing this analysis on games for, you guys know exactly how long they've been doing it for. It's almost a cut and paste job at this point. So when they come out and say that kind of stuff and do the medium and they use that word, you know exactly what they're doing. It's clicks. Yeah. It's clicks because they know they're going to strike up one side or another. You strike one side up, they go, well, that's not medium. And the other guys that don't, like the PlayStation, well, no, of course it's medium. It's Xbox. And it's like, we go back and forth. And it's like, John Linneman and what's his name there, Ledbetter, just sitting there both like Mr. Burns with their hands in the air, like laughing. It's what they do. So, right. So it is what it is. And it's a business. So I'm just saying,
how hard is it to say medium with 4K assets?
Right.
Yeah, textures is one of the most important things in a game to really make it jump off of that screen. And that's pretty important. Like anyone would know to mention texture quality is not at the medium preset. That's obvious by looking.
Yeah, but I'll say this though, to be fair, PC is very, very technical. Like for instance, the tessellation, I noticed the tessellation is like almost non-existent on the Xbox, where the tessellation on the PC is just ramped up and the surfaces just look completely different. So I understand what they're saying, but for the most part, it is running the medium settings with 4K textures. I would have to.
And he could have just said the same exact line you did, and we'd be like, all right.
Yeah, but then if you just say it's medium settings, then you have people who will tweet out or will do a video just based on that. The same as somebody who will tweet out and do a video about when they say this game is native 4K. It allows those people to jump on that headline.
Either way, like if people are going to take their word as the end all be all, that's my point. There are other people that do these analysis, and some of them find resolution drops on even Xbox One X games that Digital Foundry don't. So it's not like, I just want them to be. No, like there are other people that do the same thing that find different results and that haven't almost been sued by developers. Digital Foundry are counting pixels with their tools, not their eyeballs, and still in thought 1080p was 4K. So when Colt guesses wrong, people write his sack. He's not using a monocle like Digital Foundry are. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm just saying, be accurate. That's what you're supposed to be.
I just want to say a good alternative for analysis is NX Gamer. He's excellent with his analysis. He's like 99% spot on, And
even Vertex Gaming, we got to give him a shout out. He's kind of coming up as well. I encourage people to do this kind of stuff because we need multiple sources, and that's, once again, Digital Foundry also didn't cover the 60 FPS combat maps on Arkham the X enhancement either. They don't even know that you can play that game at 60 frames. They just threw a video together, didn't fucking look into anything, and you know what? You missed a lot of the story. But either way,
I mean, there's obviously an audience out there for that type of content, but I think it's kind of an unfortunate thing when a lot of people out there need to be told whether or not something looks good instead of using their own eyes and making up their mind whether or not it's good enough for them. It's kind of silly.
That was well said.
Yeah,
that was really well said.
But keep in mind that there are a lot of people out there that do watch that content, and my suggestion is to just be as accurate and descriptive as possible, especially when it takes 5 seconds to say something a little differently. Ryan the Professional in the super chat says, "Join the PC. It is your destiny." We do all pretty much have PCs here, man. We prefer what we prefer. If you like the PC though, that's great. I hope you have fun with Forza Horizon 4. We got to move on though. Final Fantasy Collection coming to Xbox apparently. An insider has kind of spoken out, and I take this with a grain of salt, but he says that basically this hasn't happened until now because Sony owns stock in certain companies that own stock in Square Enix, and they kind of prevented it in a way or two. I don't know. I'm not even going to hold on to that because I can't prove that. But basically, is this kind of proof that Phil Spencer's visits to Japan are working, which is something really cool that Mike Wazowski said on Twitter. Is this proof that Phil's visits to Japan are working? And is this proof that maybe you'll get some other Japanese games like this in the future?
Who's Mike Wazowski? Were you just making up a name, or is there really a guy named Mike Wazowski that works in the industry?
Jim Jambuski.
It's a guy that DM'd me.
Well, there you go. But I think to answer your question though, dealer, I think you're right. I do think Phil's work going overseas and doing that did pay off. You saw that with a bunch of different titles that we've gotten thus far. And to be honest with you, it's not as clear or cut and paste as it was back in 2013 when this generation started. because of the advancement of mobile games, because of the advancement of tablets. You've got the Switch, which is mobile. You've got the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, which are now unplug and bring with you, apparently, if you live in California. I mean, that's fine. Everybody's all over the place playing games all on different platforms. Now you've got crossplay being and whether you're a fan of crossplay or not, that's not this discussion. My point where I'm going with all this is that they were shocked at how well Monster Hunter World did on Xbox. And I'm not surprised. I might have been surprised back in 2013, but certainly not in 2017, 2018. Gaming's changed, I mean, heck, there's a couple guys in the chat right now. Shout out to those guys that are definitely PlayStation fans. They were the guys that were going back and forth with me back in 2013, and now they're saying PC. And you know what? Kudos to them. You know what I mean? That's how they want to spend their money. I think that they want to spend their money on the best platform that gives them the best visuals. Why not? So my point being is that Phil went out there and basically said what I just said, and probably a little bit more better business terms. He said, listen,
y'all motherfuckers like money or what?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like literally, well, that's it. That's where I'm going with this. Like, regardless of total sales, the direction that Xbox is going and the way that we want this game to be a certain, we want our Xbox service to be on multiple platforms. Why wouldn't you want to put it on our system as well? And everybody on the table looked left, they looked right, and they were like, you like money? Yeah. You guys like money over there? Yeah, me too.
You like buying shit? Yeah.
Hey, Phil, give me 6 more months with this deal and it runs out, and then we'll do it on yours. All right, great. And I think that's basically the way it is because now we're in a different world. I mean, Phil came out and said that when he took over, they're trying to reach he's trying to reach 2 billion gamers, That's why, you go up to Phil and you're like, there's 80 million consoles over on the left-hand side. And he's like, who cares? I'm trying to hit 2 billion. Did you not hear me? B with a B, billion, not bitch. 80 million. So it's like, the point of the matter is that they're trying to, they're trying to go global. So yes, in short, I think his travels over there will pay off and are paying off.
Mm-hmm. And what exactly comes in this collection? Anybody here know? It's like a bunch of the Final Fantasy games. Maybe the chat can help us. You guys know I don't play these games.
It was like almost all of them -2, I think. It was a lot of games.
Like 8 games or something, but I don't look into that because it's not my deal.
That's right. It does nothing for me either, but I mean, it's a huge deal for the fans of the series.
Yeah,
they love it, and it's a good thing that they get to have that on their console of choice.
Yep. I agree. So it's good. Yeah, you pretty much get all the main Final Fantasies, I guess, except for, what'd you say, 2, Shady? I mean,
yeah, I think it's missing 2.
Not Final Fantasy 2 or 2 Final Fantasy?
Oh, yeah, 2 games, but I'm not sure which ones they are.
Not counting
Crystal something. I'm not a big fan anymore, so I'm not uppity on the news.
Right.
It is missing 2 titles.
It's Final Fantasy's nuts. I noticed I've done a lot of these comparisons of games that come out each year, like the calendar year, what PS4 and Xbox come out with, and every year the PS4 has had some sort of remaster for a Final Fantasy game. It's crazy how many of those games they're remastering, and there's still like a whole collection coming.
There's a lot of them. I mean, even Ryan just said all but 2. I mean, we can't be counting the handheld stuff then, because there's so many on the handheld just alone.
No, there's like I can't remember which one it is. I think it's like Final Fantasy 13. There's like a 13 XO, IP, LJ. It's crazy. I don't follow the series, so I don't know. But like, they're so massively popular that they remaster them because people are dying to play them over again.
Well, let us know in the chat there if you guys are interested in this. If you'll play the Final Fantasy collection, massive group of Final Fantasy games coming to Xbox One. Is that the only platform? They're already on PlayStation, right? So, like I said, I've literally not.
And the Switch, I think it's coming out for everything.
Okay, so that's cool. Square Enix dropping the hammer, making a lot of money. I feel like if they could have, they would have done this a long time ago. It's kind of common sense. Sea of Thieves update has been delayed, Shady, and I know you are kind of more of a fan of Sea of Thieves. It has been pushed back to September 27th.
Oh,
what are your thoughts on this? Are you on the balcony about to jump off or what?
No, I mean, not at all. I didn't even play the last skeleton one during the event, so I mean, it's not a huge for me. It's a bummer that it's missed. I was looking forward to playing it with Zocker87 out there. He loves the game. But I think it looks good. I'm excited for when it finally does launch. I want some of that orange glowing stuff, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I got to give a shout out to almost 600 people watching live, guys. Hit that like button. Let's try to get up to 300 for the end of the show. Thank you so much for checking us out. Mm-hmm. What comes in this Sea of Thieves update that just got pushed back? Do you remember?
It does have the raft now, so you can get your little boat out there and leave your main ship kind of out at sea, so you can row in and load it up with treasure and row back out, so you're not swimming.
Which was actually, that thing was already in like the pre-alpha tests and stuff. People told me it was already in the game, and they just removed it. And now they're putting it back in. I don't know why, but
I don't know.
You
either.
get the little rowboat. What else? You
get that. There's a whole new area, which is like some big volcano island, I guess, with a whole bunch of different quests to go and do to get all this exclusive event loot, which all has like orange glowing hat and your clothes, your gloves, your mug, your telescope, your yelling, like everything in the game. I'm sure will have a piece. And I guess there's just a bunch of missions you go out there and do. The water will boil around the island, so you can't get into the water, otherwise you die. I think the Meg has something to do with it.
Is there dolphins?
I don't know if they've added dolphins, to be honest, or fishing yet. For God's sake,
dolphins. I'm not fucking with it. Sorry. So it looks like that's good. Mooch, I know you're very sad about this. I know you.
Yeah.
You know, you were a big thieves fan.
Took a couple days off from work, poured every beverage I had in the house out.
Yeah.
Listen, I gotta be honest with you. You know, look at this game, and I know there's a couple people on the panel that aren't big fans of like Fortnite. Like, there's a place for Sea of Thieves in this house. Definitely play with the kids. We have fun, but you know, the ship has sailed. There's no. I mean, there's
all the ship had to do. Okay,
that's right. That's true. This is true. I mean, I don't. I think at this point it becomes like one of the old faithful diners in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? It's never the first thing you say. It's not even the 10th place you want to go. But when nobody can make up their goddamn mind and you just want to have a couple of beers, you just go to the place where you know you can get eggs at 3:30 in the morning. You know, I don't know. My whole thing is just I don't think that this has got any. When I saw that was delayed, like I almost think if there was a like button, which there is, then there's a favorite button. If there was just a dismiss button, that would have been like through the roof. Nobody cared, and that's the thing. I think it's a great little thing to have in Game Pass. I think it's nice that it's there. I really appreciate they're adding to it. But here's the thing. We all know people in the community that have gotten to Pirate Legend, and they've done it. And those people are like the same people that were like eating the same food for the past year. They don't want to touch that food again. They're like, I made Pirate Legend and get that shit away from me. You know what I mean? They're like, I don't want anything to do with that anymore. Like, because it's the same shit over and over and over again. For like the casual folks, like I got to be honest with you, there is a hashtag fun moment with Sea of Thieves. And it's really the night where you're not in the mood to grind out a game. You're not in the mood to play a Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Not in the mood to play Spider-Man. You're not in the mood for all that content. You're not in Destiny. I don't want to go grind for hours and hours and hours for a gun.
Sleep and
you're kind of just like, like dealer. If you're just like, you know what, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, no, you grab a couple of beers. You're hanging out with your buddies online. You're bullshitting because let's be honest, there's nothing you're doing in that game that you have to put like 100% concentration in.
It's like a 4 a.m. like you're chatting in a party and you're like, fuck it, I'm not even awake. Let's just go sail and
literally
talk about how there's no fish.
It's the Full House Poker of 360 with a sailboat. Okay, it's all it is. You know what I mean? It's to pass the time. So it is what it. And don't get me wrong, I got into a lot of great discussions on Crossfire about this with a lot of people that are big time fans of it. And I'm not going to say, listen, if you enjoy it, that's great. But you probably also like staring at 3D puzzles and crossword puzzles. I don't. That's not my world. You know what I mean?
Man, I know you saw my Sea of Thieves review. Hey, Eternal
I sure did.
in the super chat there, bud. He says that Rare is apparently polishing the volcano and adding more lava.
That sounds like a sex.
They're adding more lava, guys.
I gotta go.
Man.
You know what? Shout out to Rare for not. You don't want to release it with less lava. Fuck, you might as well get the full amount of lava. I guess. Whatever. We got any Fallout 76 fans here in the chat. Basically, those guys are saying that DLC will go on forever, which is interesting. It will include only cosmetic items. And the reason it's saying forever is something I told. I think it was. I don't know. I was talking to one of you guys earlier today. And you told me about this DLC going on forever. And I'm like, well, they did say that Fallout 76 is their Fallout 4 multiplayer prototype, right? They also said that there's going to be a beta running along the full game after the game launches. It's still going to be in beta, meaning this whole thing, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing because it does give you the option to play Fallout multiplayer, but this whole thing is a big test, experiment, and learning process for them to put multiplayer into the next Elder Scrolls or Fallout game, like in full force. They're going to learn from this, and that's why they're saying the updates will keep coming. and that there's still going to be a live beta alongside the full release, because this is a big learning experience for Bethesda and their multiplayer attempts. So
it was.
Yeah.
A big reason they also gave was that they said they go online and look at the numbers of people still playing even Morrowind. There's hundreds of thousands of people playing Fallout 4 and Skyrim still, and those games are 4 and 7 years old, even older with Morrowind. So he's like, the people play these games like crazy, so they know that they have more or less a guaranteed fan base that they can pump out all this free content for, so they can continue playing.
So he came out and said that Fallout 76 is basically a trial.
No, he didn't confirm it was a trial. There is a beta that's running side by side, but he did say that all of their DLC and expansions will be free for everybody. The only thing that you can pay for is cosmetics, which you can also earn in-game as well. They're not charging you for expansion packs or DLC packs. So
that's my own, because I've heard this now from a few different folks, and I haven't read the article myself, but if this is the case, listen, I'm very much looking forward to Fallout 76, but a part of me thinks that we're all just part of this big beta. And you might go, well, yeah, so what? Well, the so what is it's still $60. I don't like to pay. I'm not a huge fan of paying $60 for a beta. And it seems like that's what Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is probably going to provide tons of content and tons of fun, but I don't think it's going to be there on day one.
I think they've been working on this since 2015, right? And I think that this is definitely going to be like a lot to this, but I hope so. They're still learning. That's the difference. Is they could.
I'm in. I'll be there day one, dealer. I'm very much looking forward to it. I know you're a big fan of Fallout 4, and I played. Listen, I didn't play a ton of Fallout 4. I wanted to play a lot more of it. That's a me problem. But I realistically played about 5-6 hours of it this summer. And let me tell you something. I actually liked the building aspect of it. A lot of people thought that was annoying. I didn't think it was that bad.
I liked it.
Yeah, I dug it. So that was fine. The shooting, the element of whatever it was, I can't remember if it was LB or push or depressing in the left analog stick, whatever it was, where you had that slow time event, you can actually pick the shoulders, head back, and get the weak spot of the enemy. I think that's I think that is a very unique fighting style that I really dig. I like it better than even the slow motion aim assist thing that goes on in Red Dead. I really dig that. So
it's like we just thawed Mooch from like a frozen tundra.
Yes,
because he's like talking about VATS. It's this brand new experience that he experienced in 2018.
For me,
it's like he's like, there's.
Well, I mean, you'll be surprised though, Cole. You do have to remember something. You guys are in a chamber of people that like Fallout 4. There's a lot of people that don't play it. No, there's no other real game that does it. You're right. I mean,
it's very interesting to hear you.
Pretty big
experiencing.
It's a big game, but I would still say it's niche in its own
12 billion in the first 24 hours. Mooch, I'm sorry, I just can't go with you on this one.
What's that? What'd you say?
12 million sales for 24 hours.
Yeah, and what was it? I think 11.5 were on PC. So that's fine. No, it does matter. It does matter because if you're only dealing and talking with people in a console community,
even Grand Theft Auto didn't even. No, not even a fraction of 11 million. It was primarily console guys, but either way, it's a big franchise, man.
There was a lot more info regarding Fallout as well.
Go ahead, Shady.
I was going to say, the whole thing can be read from my interview at Game Central with Pete Hines, who's one of the top dogs over there at Bethesda. Mm-hmm. And he gets into some of the stuff you can do in this game, and he goes on to say that there's some kind of like horde-like events that'll happen where there's zones set up around the world. You can approach the zone, and you and your crew can start building up your stuff there, or you can come across already pre-built stuff. That area will be attacked by a bunch of waves of enemies, and while this is happening, I guess it starts to generate resources really fast. So you don't have to run out into the world and randomly find everything when you're doing these events. It's a big loot generator. Other enemies or other players can of course come in and either assist you or get in the way. As everyone knows, there's a slap mechanic they call. So if you initiate attacking somebody, they have to come and attack you back before it's actually on. Otherwise, you're just chipping away at the guy. And they did confirm that applies to sniper rifles. So you can't snipe some guy from 10 kilometers out without him being able to just get headshot. It's over. That's not going to happen. The actual fighting has to go down, and then the snipers work normal, which I thought was pretty cool. A lot of people were worried about that type of griefing going on. They also said that you can sneak into other people's camps that they've built and like steal their plants and stuff like that they're growing, the regenerative items. But doing so is actually classified as stealing. So there's some kind of a punishment associated, but you can't like go into their stash and start looting all of their rare gear on them and stuff, which a lot of people were also really concerned about. And then they went on to say that the tweaked engine this time, it's not the same engine in Fallout 4. It's got better lighting, improved rendering processes, more accurate terrain mapping, and they went on to say that you can do 16 times the detail in the world, according compared to previous games. That's a lot of detail as far as I'm concerned. I'm looking forward to this game a lot. I've already got it on pre-order. I'm looking for a lot of people to get together, find these nuke codes, and blow some son of a bitch off the map. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it's looking good. D, by the way, someone asked in the chat, why don't we talk about AMD's new something GPU? I didn't get a chance to. You might want to skim through there and find it. It might be something you want to address, but yeah, I mean, the game looks cool. I got a pre-order as well. I do want to talk about Shadow of the Tomb Raider sales real quick, because we've for some reason the most toxic people in this whole community always have to talk about why do people want Tomb Raider to fail? Right? I don't understand that. So they're talking about Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider doesn't sell that much. It's like Spider-Man. You know, like shut the fuck up and play some games. Tomb Raider is a great game, right? So they're saying that Tomb Raider's first week sales apparently didn't match Spider-Man's second week sales, which doesn't surprise me. Spider-Man's literally one of the biggest characters in the world. It's probably the game with the most hype this whole year, even more than God of War. So not surprising at all, but they did say it could have sold upwards of 500,000 already on the PC, which is a big number for PC. And a lot of that's thanks to the new 20 series cards coming out with ray tracing. Tomb Raider is going to be one of those games you see in every single benchmark. It's probably going to be the most demanding games of all time. One of them, surely, when it releases with the ray tracing option with the 20 series cards. So not surprising, man. Console sales, I hope they do well. I've seen a lot of people playing it. A lot of people playing Tomb Raider. Yeah. So my initial impressions of Tomb Raider real quick is very positive, with really just kind of one negative that I'm really focusing on right now, and that is combat. I'm not even kidding when I say this. I have murdered more people in Spider-Man than I have Tomb Raider so far.
Yo.
Now keep that in mind. Like, Spider-Man is not supposed to murder people, but you end up murdering a lot of people in Spider-Man, okay? So people say, no, he's saving them all. They have a web zip line that smashes them into the building at 800 miles an hour. They're surely not dead. Okay, well, what about the part where I'm slamming motorcycles into their faces? Like I'll kick someone off a skyscraper, watch them fly over the overpass and land in traffic. There's no web that saved him there. Like, it is what it is. It's not a big deal. I've learned to accept it. I don't get. I'm always blown away every time I see him murder someone, but it definitely happens. But in Tomb Raider, that's kind of my drawback right now, is the lack of combat encounters. A lot of people were complaining with the last ones, like, oh, there's not enough tomb raiding, and the tomb raiding is by far the best. The exploration, the crypts, everything's so much better in this game. Crafting, the guns, everything's so much better, except for now you've got a lot more of that than any kind of combat encounters. And depending on who you are, you might actually like that. But in a world where you have all these guns and you can do all these cool upgrades to all these guns, you end up feeling like, man, I wish I could use my guns a little more. So just for comparison, I think some people have beat Rise of the Tomb Raider with 800-900 kills, average playthrough. And this one, they're finishing the game with 150-200 kills.
Or 300, yeah, I think.
Seems like they just went to the other extreme. I remember hearing big critiques about the first two games being treated almost like a Call of Duty, where you're just mowing dudes down. Then instead of that, now all of a sudden you're just not killing enough that you would that you want to. It's giving you all these tools, but nowhere to use them.
Yeah, like a lot of the stealth options and the tree hanging stuff. Like you don't get as much opportunity to use a lot of these. And trust me, like I said, I still absolutely really like the game. But, obviously it's got a negative. And to me, that's the one negative that really sticks out. 60 on the X is fairly locked most of the time in general gameplay. That's what it feels like to me. Hub worlds drop a little bit, but that situation has improved as well in the X. It's the only console that has an actual 60 frames mode, according to Digital Foundry. And that graph is on screen, so we know that's true. But the Pro doesn't even have a 60 frames mode. I mean, it doesn't even fucking hit 60 really. So
50 something, 51
at max.
Yeah,
but I mean, quick impressions. Anybody else play this yet?
I'm right with you with the combat. Like, I upgraded almost everything on this assault rifle, and I never get to use it. Like when I do, I can dispatch 6 enemies in 20 seconds, and it feels really good. The weapons are so punchy, but you're not using them. But the crypts and the tombs are so good. They are so cool, and they're kind of like white knuckle, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this stuff. But when you're climbing around, they're just totally awesome. And I'm only like 25% through the game right now because I'm trying to like do everything as I go. And I would love to have some more time to play it. But
Right.
yeah, it's really good. There's this problem right now with the gaming community. Like we all played Spider-Man. We all finished it. I put in like 25 hours. PlayStation doesn't track it, so I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure I put about 25. Absolutely loved the game. Fantastic. And now I'm on Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but like there's this big problem with the fanboys saying that Xbox gamers are treating it like an exclusive, but the actual truth is I think it's the PlayStation people that are pretending like it's an exclusive so they can like I don't know what they're trying to do, but we really should be enjoying these games because they're great. And I don't know what the problem is.
You think they're going to downplay Red Dead in the same fashion?
They better not. I mean, anybody should know better. But I think it's funny that a lot of people are like, well, they're just salty because it had that exclusivity on Rise. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think that's bygones were bygones, and who cares?
Yeah, I don't know.
The game did well on the PlayStation, but like to take a game like that that released so close to Spider-Man and try to dismiss it because they want to pump up Spider-Man, which a lot of us already played. It's just ridiculous. That stuff needs to stop.
Tomb Raider is an 83 on Metacritic on Xbox, by the way, just in case you guys are wondering.
Okay.
Great score last time I checked, which was holding that pretty smooth. Mooch, you get a chance to play this yet?
I haven't. I own it. I have not played it. I'm near finished with Spider-Man, and I've been getting a lot. I know you guys on the panel don't play the game, so I'm going to probably get tomatoes thrown at me here too. But a lot of people in the community are like, Mooch, hurry up, dude. You're falling behind. We got so much shit in Destiny. You're like 540. You're still 420. So I've actually been alternating nights. I've been going from Destiny to Spider-Man, Destiny to Spider-Man. I kind of agree with Colt what he said a few minutes ago, and he's like, "There's just not enough time." I mean, you know, anybody who's working and has a family and everything, it's hard to.
I've been able to play Tomb Raider since like Friday.
It's tough, man. It's not easy. And here's the thing: like I going back and grinding and doing stuff in Destiny, you can do that whenever. I get that, but that you can do nonchalantly. I don't want to lose touch with Spider-Man. I want to finish that story. I'm trying to get every collectible. I'm trying to beat every boss, every base, everything. I've done everything so far. Any side quest that pops up, I've completed. So I'm doing everything, and I plan on doing the same thing and giving the same time and devotion to Shadow, like Colt's saying. So I'm hoping to be done with Spider-Man by Friday and starting up Shadow this weekend. But listen, you know, you can't be on Twitter and you can't be on YouTube and not see and hear so much about the game. And I'll tell you something. What you guys are calling a negative, I don't blame you because that's your type of playing style. But after doing Spider-Man, which is just boss fight or excuse me, like Kingpin area after just thugs on street and then crime fighting and this and that, you're constantly fighting and doing combos and this and that. I actually really am looking forward to a story-based puzzle solving, not always that nitty gritty, getting into like a tremendous, like, you know what I mean? So what you guys are calling the negative, I'm actually welcoming as I step into Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And then you've got a game like, look at this. Look, we're 4 weeks away from basically Red Dead. And that's just going to be, guns blazing. So this is really nice to go from Spider-Man, which is unbelievable combo mechanics and collectibles, to go into a game that's more story-based puzzles with a little bit of fighting, and then get right back into that guns blazing again in the end of October.
I like the exploration.
Yeah, I dig it.
And you mix in some of that. I just asked for a little bit more because it is a long game, bro.
Understood.
It's like it's definitely. I would say it's definitely. I don't know why people are saying Spider-Man was longer. I mean, I guess you could do the stuff you're doing in Tomb Raider. It isn't like with Taskmaster and Spider-Man, like, do this challenge and I'll pop up and try to finger bang you.
Taskmaster, he's bothered me the most in that game because, even when you think you kick that area's ass, you're like, you only got silver. It's like, that was gold, damn it.
Yeah, and Tomb Raider, like, there's not like, okay, go here and do this challenge. It's you're literally exploring giant ass tombs and doing, like it feels less like busy work. It feels more natural.
Yes.
And that's what I mean, you've been fucking sleeping over there. What you been?
I love the pace of this game. I've been playing it like for the last 2 days. I just love the pace of it, and I love that they went back to their roots, back to puzzles. That's what was missing for me. Of course, the double pistols, but apart from that, the puzzles were missing in a lot of the games. They were shorter. The last game was better than the first one, obviously, but still, it wasn't like that true Tomb Raider from years gone by. And the graphics, and I just love everything about the game, to be really honest with you. It just blows my mind. Of course, I'm playing it on the PC at the highest preset, and with HDR, it just looks amazing.
It's an enjoyable experience. Ryan says Taskmaster was beast. I have to disagree, bro.
Yeah,
like I
I
don't know if you play
disagree
Witcher
there.
3, but or really even other games like that where the side like no like most people I get that some people are big Spider-Man fans and you know who that is. But most people that play that game have no clue who that is, and you don't learn who he is in the game at all. You don't go to his hideout and like figure out who he is. Like there's even some of the Arkham games have side missions like that where you actually learn who the character is, you learn the backstory, there's narrative behind it, but that's like, go here, do this challenge, and every 2 or 3 I'll pop up and fuck with you. Like I would have definitely liked the game more if more of the missions were a little bit more driven by some kind of narrative. But we got to keep the show moving, guys. Assassin's Creed Origins, tons of DLC. And shout out to 600 people watching us live, guys. We appreciate it. Hit that like button. Let's try to get 300 for the end of the show. DLC for AC Origins. Shady, you wanted to talk about this. A lot to offer here. What's the story here real quick?
Yeah, that's a stacked season pass and after game content plan that Ubisoft has planned for this sucker, man. The season pass comes with a fully remastered version of Assassin's Creed whenever that is finally finished, which is, pretty cool.
Assassin's Creed 3, right?
Assassin's Creed 3, that's right, yeah.
The worst one?
Yeah. To a lot of people, man. That intro was just way too long.
You play hide and seek for 20 minutes as a kid, okay?
Yeah, that was nuts. But it also has 2 large pieces of story content. One of them has to do with something with Atlantis. I forgot the title of the other one, but both of those pieces of content are broken down into 3 individual pieces of content, and they're releasing episodically every 6 weeks, give or take, they say. And in between the paid content, they also have free story DLC content coming out for everybody. In between all the paid stuff, they also have like legendary ships and enemies roaming around the world each week that give you chances at like exotic gear and loot, as well as different challenges every day. Yeah. They've gone on to say that it is the biggest after game content that they've ever had for any Assassin's Creed. It looks really good. Like I want this game pretty damn bad.
I'm growing more and more interested in it for sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, me too, dealer. And I was not a fan of Origins. I didn't like it. I didn't like the time frame. I don't know. That was just never my bag. I never really the Odyssey and being Greek. It does a little bit kind of bring me back into it. I'm not saying the visuals weren't good or anything like that in Origins. The game was fine. Just wasn't the era. I wasn't the era I cared for. But we're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. We're talking about Fallout 76, which has got about 7,000 hours of gameplay. We've got Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Some people are picking up Spider-Man late. People are also picking up Forza, which has got about 150 hours. Anybody know when God's dropping the 36-hour clock on any of us?
You're right.
Because, realistically, here's the problem. We can all sit here and we can butter the roll of all these games. But realistically, which game this fall... you could say you'll buy them all. That's fine. They can sit in your library. They can collect dust. They can do whatever. Which game is you got? I mean, you got to pick one to pass on. You know what I mean? Like, unless
Call
you're
of
just.
Duty.
Well, I didn't even mention that.
Yeah, Call of
That's
Duty.
fine.
Blackout's fire.
I would say probably you could say that, like, if you say Call of Duty or Blackout, or if you could say what is the other one there? Battlefield 5. But take those out of the equation because they're there every year. Yeah. Taking the games that I'd mentioned, I mean, for me personally, Odyssey, even though I think it's probably one of the better ones in the past few years, it intrigues me. I think that one, I got to pass on something. That would be a pass. That'd be a game you look forward to picking up in January for $30 or something. Yeah. I mean, because here's the thing.
I'm going all multiplayer this holiday, man. I want to be playing co-op. I want to be playing online.
Right.
I want to be doing that. There's too many single player games. They're all going to be cheaper by Black Friday. I'm not a fan of buying a single player game and then 5 weeks later it's half off. That sucks.
Yeah.
And in general, a lot of these games, they end up playing better later because they've been patched up if there's any issues and stuff like that.
Well, and but Shady, let me ask you.
Whereas the multiplayer, sorry, Mooch, the multiplayer, it has almost a timed window when it's hot, when everyone's playing it. And I want to get into the Blackout when it's hot. I want to play the BR mode in Battlefield when it's hot. I want to get into Sea of Thieves when people are actually playing it during that.
See, you could say that, but there's the other side of the coin. When the shows, you're in the world of YouTube now too. When you're doing the shows or you're watching anything that's going on or any of the live streams, it's a little bit more of the latter more than what you were talking about, because what ends up happening is Spider-Man's hot news 2 weeks before the game, 2 weeks after release. It's kind of like these single player games are like catching a cold, right?
Oh, to talk about it for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest. All you can say is that you enjoyed it or you didn't. You can't get into any details. Otherwise, you're spoiling it for someone out there and they get upset. Like, we really can't talk about these games that we enjoy that much other than say, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really talk about like Call of Duty and be like, well, I killed 24 guys. Killed 13.
No,
I killed 12. So, I mean, my whole thing is like, what I'm saying is like, I think it's the latter. I really think that like playing the single player games, this isn't for everybody. I would say this is more for our world. To be able to discuss them is a little bit more, you don't have to, you can do whatever the hell you want. But I'm saying like realistically, if you all of a sudden come on, you're on this show and you're like, in the middle of February, you're like, I got to tell you guys about Odyssey. They're like, shut up, get out of here. We already did that.
I see where you're coming from, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, believe me, you do it for a while, long enough. But I think that like, if it's a sale thing, you're right. Black Friday is going to be tremendous amount of sales for these single player games. So I think that's still a new feeling. The thing about it is that like you got to pass, regardless if you're going to do multiplayer only games, you're going to do single player only games for this fall. That's up to you. But something's got to get put on the hold on shelf. You know what I mean? And for me, it's probably the Odyssey game.
That's a good. And by the way, I think we've said Origins a few times. Somebody said Odyssey, not Origins, or bad. Okay, so it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey is what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And also for the chat here, let us know of any game this fall, motherfuckers. Hey, sometimes you can only buy a few games. Sometimes you only got time for one game. What games do you have to, unfortunately, take the pass on? Or take the L. And the most expensive L I ever took was Project Cars 2 at $24.
I told you not to. I told you not to, man.
Pile of shit fucking game that was. I just can't go from something like Forza 7 to Project Cars 2. I can't do it. Random subject. But we do got to move on. A D-Batch cool. AMD CEO talks about a few different things. Secret sauce, 7-nanometer process, cloud compute. What is your kind of takeaway from this?
Well, it's interesting that both of these companies are going to be using two different methods. They pretty much confirmed it for us, and it came straight out of her mouth, like not even like a written interview. Like this was on CNBC.
And they do that by saying that hey, we're helping them with their secret sauce, meaning we're definitely these next PS5, Xbox 2 are going to be different from one another, at least one way that each company considers to be some kind of advantage, right?
Yeah, and also too, she touched on the cloud computing that that they're happy to be partnered with Microsoft on this, and that they know where cloud compute is going to be in the future and where it needs to be, and that they're really proud to work with Microsoft on this, which gives more credence to the Xbox Scarlet rumors that we're hearing. I also think the next main Xbox console will have the cloud in it as well. But yeah, it's confirmation. And there's been some other news. I'll probably get into it later on in the week coming out recently from like their second in command there about the consoles, and apparently the next generation consoles, although they're both working on different secret sauces, both companies have not committed to the final hardware yet. I found that very interesting.
I don't think they would. In secret sauce, like a lot of people are like secret, like they think it's like, oh, this is going to double the power of this thing. No, like secret sauce could be something as simple as, some kind of memory interface that's different from your opponent that may give you a 30% boost. It's just something they're keeping under wraps to maybe have a leg up,
Rapid pack math.
Well, like the one guy was saying in the comments, he was asking why we're not talking about their new patented super SIMD computing that they're going to, and they're basically getting out of the GCN architecture, so they're using a new architecture that does calculations faster and better, and of course more of them. So there's been some rumors circulating that maybe the next generation consoles are going to have that in it. We really don't know too much about that right now. That's why a lot of outlets aren't really covering it, because there's not much known about it. But if some of the rumors are to be believed, then maybe Sony is going with a Navi GPU and Microsoft is going to go with something else. Maybe they're going to go with this new patented GPU from AMD that does all these calculations better. Maybe they're going to go with a 7-nanometer Vega. Maybe it's a dual Vega. It's very interesting. And the biggest takeaway from this interview here is that basically next gen is definitely around the corner.
Now, explain what you just said, right, dual Vega, because I don't need exposed videos popping up of you tomorrow.
Well, with AMD's Infinity graphics, they can do a dual GPU. So it's
not like in the traditional sense, though, right?
No, not in the traditional sense, but it's.
I already know, but I'm just letting you clarify, okay?
It's not like it's just like like some of these Vega cores, they're using the the Threadripper, they're using the Infinity Fabric and putting a lot of Ryzen 7s together and whatnot, right? So with the GPU architecture, they could theoretically do the same thing. I'm not saying they will, but they can. They do have that technology at their disposal. Next generation, I don't want to segue into the next topic, so I won't really get into that. But next generation, I think is going to be very, very impressive what we get for consoles, at least.
It'd be good for both. Yeah,
it'll be great. And if you're a console guy, you're gonna fucking love seeing 60 FPS and all that other stuff. Kind of the frequency of that amount of frame rates on games is gonna be great. She does also mention working with Microsoft on cloud stuff, and that kind of brings us back to the Scarlet Cloud box, which is a box that rumored to be about 125 bucks. The low latency tasks like animation and player movement will be run on the local CPU of that box, but the more static objects will be streamed into the scene. And that's what I like to call hardware interlacing. You're interlacing kind of cloud streaming in with actual hardware that's running the game as well, in at least the low latency fashion, to actually have ultra low latency. I mean, actual, like, different from any other streaming service. No one else has done it like this. Ultra low latency streaming. This is different, and if it works, it's got to work perfectly. I could see this being a kind of a big deal, as long as data rates are kind of manageable. Could you see yourself checking this out, Mooch, if latency was almost indistinguishable and the data wasn't insane?
Hang on, before Mooch answers that, somebody in the chat, Nomad said, doesn't matter what these consoles will be next generation, there'll be very little difference. Is he saying between the two?
CPU alone is going to be a quantum leap. I mean, I don't
know if he means between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Scarlet, or if he means between what we have now.
No, I think he's talking about GPU performance from something. And keep in mind, too, you got to pretend like the X and the Pro don't exist. Those aren't next-gen consoles. So from the base models, which 98% of the customers own, they don't own the X or the Pro. They're going from 1.3 and 1.8 T-flops up to anywhere from, like I said, 8 to 12 teraflops, 16 gigabytes of RAM, most likely, and a Ryzen CPU. This is a massive difference for the majority of customers. I mean, the X is a massive difference for a lot of people. So most people didn't buy that. They're going to go from the base Xbox to the Xbox 2. It's going to be fucking nuts. And you're going to get 60 FPS on open world games and stuff. Definitely more frequent. I mean, it's going to be fucking awesome. So I think it'd be a definite difference. Mooch, what about this streaming box? $100, not much of a difference. Not bad on your data cap. And you get to stream every game you own to that box, wherever it is in your house or wherever you're at.
Well, the last part of what you said is what really holds water, dealer, is bring it to anywhere in your home. You know, I mean, listen, you're going to use a dedicated Scarlet, okay? You're going to use your dedicated PS5 on your OLED or your big time. You know, I know D's a big fan of the Samsung, the QLEDs. You know, whatever you're going to do and spending $500 on a console, that's where you're going to primarily put that with your best TV. Now you take something like this Scarlet Cloud, okay? And a lot of people have like TV in their bedroom, and it's, you know, they're not going to put their 4K big boy OLED in their bedroom. They're probably got a 1080p TV up there that they're just like, you know, I just jam out at night, or you watch a movie, you just chill. That's a really, really cool place to be able to put something like this, because now you can actually take your game, close it up downstairs. You're like, all right, going to call it an early night, but I just solved this puzzle, or maybe you're doing like a Tomb or something, a Tomb Raider. You go upstairs, boom, all of a sudden your game just starts playing upstairs right where you left off. Like, there's something to that. And a lot of people are like, well, I can do that already with my Xbox One S or my Xbox One X. You can, but first of all, it's a very cumbersome unit to just put anywhere. I think this thing's going to be the size of an Apple TV. You know, it's going to look like, you know, a square hockey puck, if you will.
And the price, too, $100.
And the price, $100. Well, now here's the thing. And Colt was actually on Crossfire about 4 weeks ago when this was bigger in the news, when the rumors were all coming out of when it might come out. Yeah. And if it's $100, dealer, this thing's like going to sell like hotcakes. And Colt made a good point. Colt,
mind you, is like $100, and
right,
this is going to have all those same apps and
play games.
Yeah.
Colt then made a point to say if it's 150, he thought 150 was the tipping point, and I think you might be able to make that argument that he had some weight there. I think once you start getting to 150, you know, then it comes down to the conversation of, well, I could probably at that point go get an S. Yeah, you know, an S is probably $200 at that point. I can go scoop that up, and it does even more than the Cloud.
Hey, you know who I see in the chat there, Mooch? Fucking showstopper, brother. Good to see you, man. Jeez.
What's up, Show?
You're live, motherfucker. Good to see you in the chat, bro. We want to get you on the show sometime if you got time, man. Go ahead.
I just want to touch on what Mooch is saying there. Well, first we got the NVIDIA Shield right now. The NVIDIA Shield is what, like $300, and you can stream 4K games like high fidelity on their system. Now, of course, we know NVIDIA, they overprice everything. So Microsoft has better technology for sure. You know, they got better cloud service for sure. I don't know why everyone's delegating, or not delegating, but thinking that this Scarlett's just going to be 1080p. I don't really think it's going to be 1080p. I think it's going to be 4K. I don't know if it's going to be 60 frames per second. It might be 30 frames per second, or maybe 1440p, but I don't think it's going to be 1080p. 1080p is so passe, to be honest with you.
It's so 10 years ago.
It's so basic.
And most of the TVs being sold now are 4K. You can get really cheap 4K TVs. And like Mooch was saying, I have my OLED in my living room, and in the bedroom I have a Q8, and at the office I have a Q9. So like my Q8 goes in the bedroom. It's it's a lesser of the two TVs, I think, but the Q8 is still a great, fantastic 4K TV. So I would want to put my Scarlett on that television. So a lot of people have 4K TVs. Don't be surprised if this Scarlett is doing 4K. I don't think it's going to be a 1080p.
Well, here's the thing. Let me say this, and D, I like how you made the NVIDIA reference, and that's to a certain point, you're 100% right there. But realistically, I don't think you're going to go from 300 to 100. If this thing is a 4K device by Microsoft, you can expect a $199 tag on it. In my personal opinion,
I don't think it'll be $100 either. That's kind of.
That's so I'll ride with you there.
Is what I'm saying.
4K $199 if it's 1080p. And I mean, don't get me wrong though. The other side of that argument is that what is this thing intended for? If this is, listen, I always make the joke, everybody that does gaming media out in California, they're like, well, I don't know about you guys, Jimmy, but I just took my PS4, put it in my backpack, went to my friend's house. Yeah, we don't do that over here, okay? So now all of a sudden, if I can take this hockey puck thing that's just got a plug and a controller, and that thing is the size of like an Apple TV, that's something that's mobile. Now I don't care if I'm using something that's mobile, much like the Switch, which is only 720p. Right. Once you give people that mobility with it, the essence of I'm not getting my full quality of my TV doesn't necessarily become the reference point or the topic of conversation. It's more of the portability. So if I can take this Xbox Scarlett and have it hooked up in my bedroom, right, then take it out of there real quick and you bring it into another room real quick, or you bring it over to your friend's house and all of a sudden you're playing your games on it. That trumps the 4K argument. But if it's something where it's a larger unit and this and that, and it's not so portable, then I do stand behind what you're saying. So it depends on what this item actually is.
He said,
I don't think it's going to cost them.
He said console quality graphics. Remember that. And I don't know what that means, but he's very deliberate when he said that.
Well, an Xbox One S is a console and it's not doing 4K.
Yeah, he said you'll have access to your games on other devices with console quality graphics. Right. Does that mean like Xbox One S standards in 2020? Does it mean X standards in 2020, or does it mean current standards?
I would think it'd be X standard, because this thing is coming out like what, next year, the year after, close to Xbox. So in 2 years,
with local hardware,
is going to progress so much further. We're just starting with the ray tracing generation right now, but when that system comes out, we're going to be 3 cards deep into that generation. So the technology, it's going to be there. In all honesty, I don't think it's going to cost them much more money to implement 4K, to be honest with you. And knowing Microsoft the way I know them, when they see NVIDIA has a similar box out, they're going to want to achieve more on their box compared
to that. Forget, and D, let me throw this curveball at you. Answer this one for me. This is really a question. I don't know the answer to it. You're right. Everything you just said, the technology in the box, affordability, and we're waiting a whole nother year. I'm going to go ahead and buy the fact that it would still be pretty cheap to have the Xbox Scarlett Cloud at 4K. Here's the thing. All of that being said, hardware-wise, the streaming ability.
Yes.
So now streaming it in 4K on that box and having the latency, that's where, and that's, we started this conversation today, or when I came on the show, because I came a couple minutes late, was the whole PUBG talk. And they're dumbing down the resolution to get the performance up. So if performance is still a bit, let's be honest, even though technology in a year will be better than it is today, I would say that they're probably still going to, I'm still very much leaning that this is a 1080p box. try to get its full performance and frames out. To do that, it's not going to be a 4K.
I would think there'd be like an option maybe for the people that can support the bandwidth, that they'd be able to do it, and maybe they want to just lower people's expectations because they know the situation of people's broadband internets in the States.
Yeah.
So it could be that situation as well. I think the whole industry is going towards streaming. I know later on we're getting into what's going on with Nintendo, but it's amazing what they're able to do with that console. And if you see the graphics in Assassin's Creed, they look a lot better than anything I've seen on the Switch before.
I think they just need to make everything scalable. So if you got 15 megabytes per second, maybe you unlock 4K streaming. If you're down to 8, you get 1440p or 1080p, and it's all automatic. And at the end of the day, a lot of information there, guys. Take it for what you will. Xbox executive also says they're going to have the best cloud service there is. So they're very confident in their ability. Yeah. The Azure network is obviously one of the fastest and most powerful in the world when it comes to cloud services. And that'll be very interesting. And to go back to what D said, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is going to be a cloud-based game on Nintendo Switch in Japan. So they've got the bandwidth and the network out there. People on the train streaming Odyssey with low latency to their Switch.
Unbelievable.
We're so behind in do that. If the Switch can do that, how come these Xboxes we have right now couldn't be modified with an update to become this new streaming Scarlet?
Because, the streaming Scarlet is a box without any of this hardware designed to keep the price as low as possible with the capability to interlace the hardware with the streaming, right? Like we talked about. So ultimately, Microsoft's goal is to put this streaming app on cell phone, everything. Like you'll be able to do what they're doing in Japan. Their service just isn't ready yet. He even talked about.
Can I preach something real quick, dealer?
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat was talking about how PlayStation has a true exclusive where you can only play it on that console. And I'm kind of trying to get people to understand that's not something you want to celebrate. Like what Microsoft's trying to push is for your games to be accessible in many different ways. Like it could be possible in 2020 that we could play our Xbox games through Xbox Live on a TV through the streaming service. But at least with this little cloud console, you have more ways to play your games. If you have a dedicated gaming area and you have another TV and you want to go just pick up your game and you have that little streaming box on the other TV, you can just move right over there. And to be able to stream your games to a Surface or a tablet and play them, like that's an amazing thing. And I don't think we should be celebrating how PlayStation keeps their games in one area where that's the only place you can play it. That's great for selling PlayStations, but that's not good for a gamer. That's not like a bragging point.
Saying that. That's what I'm trying. And keep in mind, same people praising the fact that you can only play Spider-Man in one fucking place, even though that doesn't benefit you at all. That helps you feel better about your purchase. How does that benefit you, for one? And secondly, are you paying attention to what they're doing with PlayStation Now? Because they already put Bloodborne on there. They're going to keep putting PlayStation 4 games on PS Now. Yeah. And that's when I hear people say, well, it's still exclusive because PS Now sucks, even though I damage controlled it for 3 years.
No. They say it's still exclusive because you're playing it on the PlayStation platform. And that's exactly what the Scarlet streaming cloud system is.
Because it's using a Sony app, is still exclusive. But by their very same definition, I can play it on my TV. I'm just saying that pay attention to what Sony are doing. I told you that they were adding PS4 games to PS Now very soon after they consolidated what platforms that app was available on, and that's exactly what happened. That's why they did that. So they are interested. They are testing the waters. They are seeing how many PC gamers are signing up for PS Now to play something like Bloodborne. This is all a number running event right here. They're figuring out how much they can make on PC. That's what they're doing, in a way. So if you really think about it, what other reason do they have for putting these games, Last of Us included, technically not exclusive now because on PS Now by your same definition. So keep that in mind. It doesn't benefit you in any way to want to lock yourself down to one fucking box. Witcher 3 isn't the best game ever made, which it is, because it's fucking exclusive. Because it's exclusive. No, it's a fucking multiplat, and it'll blow your mind if you just play it. It doesn't matter where you play it.
It's only the zealots of the world that have tied their egos to exclusive console stuff that, they get more enjoyment out of being able to hold it over other gamers than they actually do playing the damn games. I swear to God. It's nuts.
And they'll talk to someone like me. I was like, bitch, I have all of your games. I have a PS4 Pro, so I get all your shit too. It doesn't bother me in any fashion that it wouldn't bother you. It's just the principle of the matter. I like to be able to play the shit where I am. And I didn't used to think that, but now I do. Opinions change. You know, you just said earlier, Colt, a lot of Sony guys now talking about PC. And you know what? Their opinions changed, and that's fine. Whatever. But we got to move on. The show's running fucking long. So once again, guys, shout out to 600 people watching us live. Hit that like button. Let's try to get 300 for the end of the show. We do appreciate it. So AC Odyssey will be streamable. Go ahead and move to Japan if you want to play it on your Switch. We've also got the August NPD information, Colt. What's going on there?
Well, everything's selling really well. It's kind of generalized here, but hardware is up 26% for PS4, Xbox, Switch, and gaming cards for PC. So year on year, like gaming just continues to grow more and more. It's actually really good news. And you know, console gaming's not going anywhere. PC gaming is just climbing like crazy.
So those sales are up 25% for console hardware and stuff, right? 26%.
Yeah, I mean, they say 22% like on month, 26 on year. Like it's been really fantastic.
Madden took the number 1 spot for Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, like looking at Matt Piscatella's tweets, it's kind of hard to read the way he posted stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, he's got so much information to put out there, but like GTA 5 is still leading. Of course, Spider-Man and God of War are up there. Yeah, just really good, healthy gaming. People are playing games.
Don't surprise me. Fucking Rainbow Six Siege is still selling its ass off, man.
Grand Theft Auto. What the hell?
Stop buying Grand Theft Auto, people. I'm actively rooting against it at this point.
It was the cheapest it's ever been last month. It doesn't surprise me that it's
How much
shot
was
up again. It was like $20 Canadian, man.
Oh, wow.
Giveaway.
Man. Yeah, that is cheap for Canada.
Yeah.
So, August NPD. Hey, Spider-Man stuff, not on here, obviously. It's a September game. But if they do anything like they did God of War, they will come out with those numbers very soon.
Yeah, and I didn't look into all of the NPD stuff, but we do know that the Spider-Man PS4 Pro console has just skyrocketed sales for the PS4 platform. It's doing
This
like
is why
huge
custom
numbers.
consoles matter.
Yeah, it's just doing really good.
Well,
and so
well, certain custom consoles matter. Yes.
Well, I mean, you got a great game and you give it a custom console.
Well, yeah, but again, you have to go back to what it is we're talking about here. They give Spider-Man's an icon, right? That's iconic. Like, there's people who have tattoos above their ass of Spider-Man. Okay, like,
I do.
Hey, that
I mean,
well, let me tell you, there's a lot of people you podcast with that do. Okay, none on this show.
Skyrocketed PlayStation sales for fucking half a year. You know, like in the
which one?
Bundle. Black Ops 3, fucking Batman, Star Wars, like they all sell consoles.
Did you hear what you just said? Those are the three like iconic ones, but you know, all of a sudden, if you throw like a custom console out there of Cuphead, it's not going to do so well.
That's why I said it's got to be a great game,
right? Yeah, Star Wars, absolutely. Call of Duty's been the 800-pound gorilla for a decade. You know what I mean? And then of course Spider-Man, which has been around since Stan Lee was 8.
But you gotta agree that something like Forza Horizon 4, they know that game's going to sell well. Pre-orders are ahead of expectations according to them. That game should have gotten a custom console. The last one sold several million. Forza Horizon 4. Stuff like that. You know, games that get people excited. In Microsoft right now, they just showed off a Solo one. Whether or not you like the movie is irrelevant, but another console that they're just auctioning off for what was it, charity or something.
That's just
the Shadow one.
No, they showed one for Solo. It had like the.
You can just enter that. It's just a contest.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Really good too.
You can't buy that one though. That's the problem with it.
We went over this last week, didn't we?
Yeah. You can't buy the big custom Shadow of the Tomb Raider console with the vines and shit on it. You can't do any of that. So it's all for auction somewhere.
It's interesting because you're starting to see the companies really. They're gonna look at hardware. We just talked about D's segment there with maybe each of the next generation consoles are going to have one thing that the other one doesn't have, possibly. And I think even one of those things one has that the other doesn't have. I think bottom line, they're both going to be very comparable. But you can definitely see the fork in the road at this point with these two companies. Microsoft is going for just, they are basically, it's funny. I'm going to say this, and I wonder how many of you guys will agree with me. Microsoft is turning into the Xbox is now is the Steam box. It's going to be a highly powerful mid-generations coming, just a beast, really resembling the PC in a sense. Take that easy, guys. Take that easy. I don't mean, but like they're going to get more and more powerful, and they're just going to stay very, very plain Jane and go with games as a service, which is like League of Legends and things like that, World of Warcraft, and that's what made the PC so great. Microsoft is going in that direction. And
I
it's
don't
funny
think
because
in that direction. I think they doubled down and said that, hey, we just bought a fuck ton of studios. We're giving them more time than they've had, and we've invested well over $1 billion in games.
That's to help Game Pass. But realistically, a lot of those are going to be games as a service. Yes, it is. And yes, they've said games as a service is their future, dealer. Yes, it is.
Games as a service, though. I mean, keep in mind, many people don't even know what games as a service is.
They don't need to know games as services as long as they know how to play for pay for microtransactions.
So you think they made Forza Horizon 4 for the sole purpose of
it's the first party game to come out in like 2 years. Listen, I
mean, I'm just asking you a question though. Like, we got in some other games that you can argue that
they're not. Like, I didn't say they're not going to do any. I mean,
they're going to pump out some great games, including Gears 5, and they delayed Crackdown to add even more stuff to it. I'm just saying they are literally going in the opposite direction that you're saying. They're adding more content to these games and delaying them to polish them, not releasing things like that or episodically or service.
That's a completely different conversation. That's fine. Yeah, sure. Okay, everything you said, yeah, that's great. That doesn't mean they're not going in the direction of the gas games. They are. And like the point of the matter
is, but yeah, go ahead.
No, they really are, dealer. That's the whole thing with their. You just said they have the largest and strongest cloud support, and they're doing this whole thing with the Azure. What are they doing that for? For Forza 5?
That's why.
Like, no, I mean they're doing that because they want games as a service. If you
that's why I asked you what you consider as a games as a service, because many people say this game got updated. It's a games as most people don't know what that is. When in reality, a game as a service is more like something like World of Warcraft, where you pay a monthly fee. Yeah, you can say that with Game Pass, but that's way different. You get 150 games, some updates, and you got some more content as you win.
Hold on. State of Decay 2 is not a games as... Oh, man, did we lose the stream?
I don't know. I think it's still...
Oh, okay. State of Decay 2 is not a games as a service because it has DLC that comes out 3 months later. Like that, people have the wrong idea what they think.
So every game with DLC is a games as a service?
No, it's not. No, but I mean, realistically, it's not. Cole, you're right. I don't think that's as games as a service. But I mean, I think that's
they're going to say that. They're going to say that because Spider-Man comes out, you buy it for $60, you play it, and then that's it. But
a month later, though, one month later, Spider-Man has DLC. These people know this, right?
And that is not games as a service.
Games as a service, right? That makes sense. So that's what I'm saying. DLC doesn't make a game games as a service. None of that shit does. The games as a service is literally built over time at what it feels like, and what is often a monthly charge. So technically, like I said, Sea of Thieves is the closest argument to that.
Yep.
But really what that game was is just not finished. And we've seen that before on all platforms. Mm-hmm. There's not enough evidence there to support anything to do with games as a service. Monthly updates to make a game better or to add content, you can still go buy that game for $60. That doesn't make that game a game as a service.
I think Destiny almost fits the bill, to be honest, in my opinion, for games as a service. There's a lot of content. It's all paid. They have new events. Things are constantly changing. I think it works with that.
You pay $1,000 to get the complete.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, well, I mean, World of Warcraft ain't cheap. I know people that just started and they're 600 deep. You know, I mean, I just think, to get back to my original point, we kind of went off on a tangent. I think Microsoft's going more leaning towards that world in the future. We'll see if that happens. It hasn't happened yet. I think that's what they're preparing for. And what I was getting back to, what we were saying with the custom consoles, is you could see Sony is still holding on to their laurels, and they are really staying the traditional route. They're still doing a lot of custom consoles. They're really catering. Listen, there's a lot of shops now. You know, we were going to where life was just going to be this cookie cutter Applebee's, boom, 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 you know, Home Depot, Barnes and Noble, like all these big chains just all showing up in everybody's local area, whether you lived in Bumpkin, USA, or big cities. And now all of a sudden you got there's these cool shops that are in all the malls, like nerdy, geeky this, and it's cool because they customize t-shirts and mugs and everything in the world that you use every day to gaming or really kind of like sci-fi movies and stuff. My point being is that there's such an audience that there's 5-6 stores in your malls now that cater to the stuff that we all kind of dig. And to Sony doing this with the custom consoles that are, of course, Spider-Man, which is a Marvel theme. And then all of a sudden you've got Star Wars, which has an unbelievable allegiance. And then you've got the Call of Duty people that only buy a console because Call of Duty comes out every year. And they're doing that, and they're seeing that, and they're recognizing that. And Microsoft, for some reason, is saying, no, we love you guys. We love all you gamers. Look, we're opening studios. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're doing it. No, you like that favorite thing? You really want that painted on there? F yourself. We're not giving you that. And it's...
Well, it's working for Sony now, Mooch. I gotta say,
gamers you've built. all these years. And that's something that I don't understand why they're gaining ground on one thing, but they're losing their touch on something that you could see. Now, if Spider-Man console didn't sell well and the God of War console didn't sell well and the Call of Duty one didn't sell well, you'd say, listen, Mooch, I see where you're going with that, but realistically, they're not doing well. And that's why Microsoft's not doing it. But they are doing well, and they have been doing well. And Microsoft still consistently doesn't offer a custom console. Myself personally, I like custom consoles for value. I'm not showcasing any of these ridiculous looking things on my entertainment center. I think they look ridiculous, but
I mean, it really is every little incentive adds up. So you save $6 on the game, plus maybe you like the way the fucking console looks. You're like,
maybe you do.
It's a no-brainer, right?
Yes, and then you get at least $50 to $75 more than if you just bought the matte black finish one.
Yep, and like I said, for those that don't care about the color, like I don't care what color it is. All right, then paint your Xbox beige or your most hated color, and then do you care now? Like color doesn't matter to a lot of people. We got to move it on. But like I said, guys, Microsoft did announce they will have by far the most capable cloud network. Kind of shockingly so. Basically just putting their foot in the ground. It's kind of a big announcement from them that they're that confident that no one else is going to compete with them in the cloud area. It'll be interesting to see what approach Sony take. There are also some rumors that maybe Sony will come out with some kind of Scarlet stream box, so yeah, we'll see how they do there. And according to one developer, they might not even do 4K 60 FPS on the consoles. It just depends. Like they may just want to ramp up all the settings and 60 FPS and stuff like that. It's there's so many different approaches now with a better CPU, especially, or to at least give gamers more freedom and options for 60 FPS at will, or whatever the hell they want to do. So, like I said, guys, that's the show. This is a long ass show. I apologize. Yeah, we got to eat and shit. So, once again, Mooch, great discussion. Me and Mooch go forth on all kinds of stuff. That's what makes the show so great when Mooch is on.
I agree, right? I mean, people, I say it all the time. People go, well, if I come on Crossfire, I'm not necessarily in agree. I said, listen, you don't have to. That's the best part about any kind of good podcast is when you have two differences of opinions. Now, you hope that both opinions actually have some sort of like evidence or something that they're bringing to the table, which I think we both do very well, Dealer. So it's always great to be on RDX.
Mm-hmm. And I got to shout out to Y9 Power. He basically saying if they released a lot of these older franchises like Blue Dragon, Mech Assault, and more, they would make an absolute killing. You know what? And nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I'll tell you that. So I guess I hear there's definitely a Mech Assault in the works somewhere, and I think that's their opportunity to really go all out in a visual showcase and customization and multiplayer and kind of revitalize that. But like I said, guys, that is our show. I do have to remind you guys that Guillermo Cabillo wins Shadow of the Tomb Raider on Patreon, and Casket Repair wins Far Cry 5 on Patreon this month. For those that commented on that post on Patreon, thank you so much. Like I said, it's kind of a random thing, and better luck next month. To those that are interested, check out that link down below. And I didn't get as many comments as I have people in that tier, so if you're not checking that like it says in the tier, definitely be checking the site, because that's where you get all the information from. We do appreciate it, guys. Check out that Patreon down below. And once more, the stream stuff, the Patreon stream will be the first Tuesday of every single month. We'll do that Patreon stream and have a blast there. So keep your eye out for that as well. I'll be posting about that and talking about that week. So we're going to do some outros, guys. Like I said, hit that like button. We appreciate it. Maybe share this video on Twitter. And I'm going to say thanks to Mooch first for joining us, buddy. Good show. Good talk.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me,
man. What have you been playing? Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've been playing Spider-Man. Definitely catch me on PSN. I always share that out there. It's like -Mooch78. I wish we could change our PSN names. One day that'll happen. I do want to change it up, switch it up, make it a little more relevant. And you can catch me on the Mooch78 on YouTube. Crossfire we have this week is going to be great. And we do have MNC evenings tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow night, pardon me. I'm not used to podcasting on a Tuesday. On Thursday night. And we'll let you know what's going on that show. We'll have a lot of fun. And dude, thanks for having me on the show, man. Great show.
No problem, man. Great discussion. You got a packed week this week. You got
4 days straight, buddy. Let's do it.
Jesus.
Let's do it.
Hey, Colt Eastwood, man. What have you been playing, or where can people find you?
Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I got to hurry up because I'll probably be playing that and Forza at the same time because of, it'll take a while. You can find me at Colt Eastwood on Twitter and YouTube and PSN and Xbox Live and Steam. That's where you can find me. That's me.
D Batch, man, how you been, brother? What have you been playing? Where can people find you?
I've been playing Forza, Spider-Man, and a lot of Tomb Raider. I actually uploaded to my channel today some real HDR 4K footage of the game. So if you have like an S9, S8, a Note, Samsung TV, LG HD TV, you can see that. You can find me at Twitter at D_Batch and at YouTube at DBatch. And I'll leave a link for that video for you guys to see it in the chat here.
Awesome. And also we've got the Sesh Empire, So Shady himself. What have you been playing? Where can people find you?
I am currently going through Call of Duty Blackout withdrawals, baby. I need that mode back. For the record, I never got into PUBG at all. I just knew this mode was for me. I needed a right game to deliver it, and this one has.
It's very good.
I put a lot of time in over the weekend. I played with a couple fellow podcasters and a smattering of members from the community. We had an absolute great time, and a lot of us put the pre-order down. I recommend people check it out if you haven't looked into it yourselves. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter at the Sesh Empire, or you can look me up on Xbox. I am So Shady. Send me a message, get yourself known. Maybe we'll play some games together. Mooch, it was a pleasure having you on the show, bro. I'm waiting for that next invite to Crossfire, my man.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that, and it's in the mail. You will have it soon.
It's fucking shining a bat light on you.
Yeah, right. That was great.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, that blackout mode. I mean, I hear it's pretty damn smooth. I mean, that's just
It's
a
great.
beta from a competent developer that
Yes.
actually makes actual games. So, once again, guys, thank you so much for checking us out. Hit that like button on your way out. We're done.
Peace.